All my life I believed I was their daughter. Until one rainy afternoon, I opened a letter hidden in the attic, and my entire identity shattered in seconds. Before we dive into this thrilling story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. My name is Mandy, and if you asked me just a few weeks ago who I was, I would have told you confidently. I'm Mandy Collins, daughter of Jack and Elaine Collins, only child, homeschooled. But now, I'm not so sure anymore. I'm not sure who I am, or where I came from, or why the people I called Mom and Dad lied to me for over 20 years. Before I tell you the moment everything broke apart, let me take you back to what life used to be like. We lived in a small town tucked deep into the woods of Oregon. The kind of town where everyone knew your name, where the corner diner still served cherry pie on Sundays, and where life moved slowly, too slowly sometimes. I was homeschooled all my life, taught by my mom in our cozy, ivy-covered house. It was always just the three of us. No cousins, no aunts or uncles visiting, no family pictures except us three. I used to think it was charming. Now I know better. My childhood was picture perfect on the outside. Home-cooked meals, backyard campouts, birthday cakes baked by Mom every year. But there were cracks, little ones I ignored. Like how Mom would flinch every time I asked about baby photos. Or how Dad once shut down when I asked where Grandma was buried. Or how they both exchanged strange looks anytime I mentioned wanting to take a DNA test, just for fun like my friends. Have you ever had that gut feeling that something's off but you push it down because the truth might hurt too much? Yeah, that was me. For years. But it all started unraveling on my 21st birthday. It was a rainy Saturday. The kind that makes the house feel colder than it is. I was up in the attic trying to find old board games for a quiet night in. That's when I saw it. A box. Unlabeled. Tucked behind an old chest of Christmas decorations we hadn't used in years. It was sealed with duct tape like someone really didn't want it opened. I stared at it for a long time. Something in me hesitated. But curiosity always wins. Inside there were old papers. A few books. And one letter. Folded neatly. Addressed to Elaine Collins. No return address. No stamp. To be opened if Mandy ever asks. That's when my heart dropped. Why would someone write that? Why was it hidden? And why was my name on it? I shouldn't have read it. But I did. The letter was written in shaking cursive. The kind that looks like the words are holding back screams. And it started like this. Elaine, if you're reading this, it means Mandy's beginning to ask questions. I knew the day would come. We made a choice, a painful one, to protect her from the truth. But lies have a way of rotting even the purest love. I stopped breathing. The next few paragraphs changed everything I thought I knew. I can't bring myself to say exactly what was in it, not yet. But what I can tell you is this. I was never meant to know. And yet, somehow someone had wanted me to find it. I ran downstairs, the letter shaking in my hand, my chest tight with dread. But my parents, they weren't in the living room, or the kitchen, or even the garage. They were gone. No note. No missed calls. No texts. Just silence. It was like they'd vanished. That night I sat in my room for hours, clutching the letter and wondering how many other lies I'd been fed my whole life. Was my name even Mandy? Was I born in Oregon? Were these really my parents? Or just people playing a role? And most haunting of all, if I wasn't their daughter, then who was I? Before I tell you what happened the next morning, I want to ask you something. Have you ever discovered a secret that changed how you saw your entire life? Tell me in the comments. What was it and how did it make you feel? Also, let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing how far this story travels. Because trust me, this is just the beginning. What I found next was worse than the letter. Worse than the silence. Worse than the lies. It was proof. Proof that my entire life had been scripted like a play. And someone, somewhere, was still pulling the strings. I'll tell you what I found in the box hidden beneath the first one. A box that had no name. Only a date. And a picture of a woman who looked exactly like me, but wasn't my mother. Don't miss it. Tap the like button if you're already hooked and hit subscribe so you don't miss. It's about to get even darker. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? The letter's words were carved into my mind, repeating over and over like a broken song. I kept reading the same paragraph again and again. We made a choice, a painful one, to protect her from the truth. The truth? What truth? The attic felt colder the next morning, as if the house itself knew its secrets were being peeled back. I couldn't ignore it now. Something in me had snapped. I needed answers, even if they hurt. So I went back up to the attic. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. The sun was barely up. Dust floated in the air like tiny ghosts, and every creaking step made my heart beat louder. I pushed past the box with the letter. And that's when I saw it. Another box. Smaller. Heavier. No tape this time, just a single lock. Rusted. Old. And on top, a sticky note. Faded ink. Simply said, 1998. For emergency only. That's the year I was born. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence. But deep down I knew better. The lock was brittle. One yank and it snapped open. It was a photograph. One single photo. No frame. No writing on the back. It was of a woman. Long brown hair. Dark almond eyes. A dimple in her left cheek. She looked exactly like me. Well, not similar. Identical. Like I was staring at an older version of myself. Or maybe, my biological mother? I fell to the floor. The photo trembled in my hand. My breath caught in my throat. And underneath the photo, a hospital bracelet. Plastic. Faded. Tiny. The name on it was not Mandy Collins. It was Baby Girl R. No last name. No full identity. Just a letter. Who was she? Who was I? And why did my parents never tell me I wasn't me? I kept digging. At the bottom of the box was a sealed envelope marked, "Do not open, unless she finds out." Too late for that. I tore it open expecting another letter. But instead I found a birth certificate. Not the one I had in my files. This one was different. Handwritten. Stamped by a hospital I didn't recognize. And listed under mother's name. Not Elaine Collins. But Rebecca Langley. Who was Rebecca? And why had I never heard that name in my entire life? I rushed downstairs, my hands shaking. My parents still weren't home. 2 missed calls. No texts. Where were they? I tried searching the hospital name online. St. Mercy General, Albany, New York. That was over 3,000 miles from where I was raised. So, I was born in New York, not Oregon. What were they hiding that was worth lying about my entire birthplace? That's when it hit me. I had never seen a baby photo of myself. No videos. No ultrasound pictures. No family albums before age 2. It was like I didn't exist before then. Tell me in the comments. If you found a picture of someone who looked exactly like you hidden in a box, what would you do? Would you want to know the truth or leave it buried? I needed help. I couldn't do this alone. So I did something reckless. I posted the photo on a missing persons forum with the caption, "Does anyone recognize this woman? Please. It's urgent." And within an hour, I got a message from someone claiming to know who she was. Someone who said her name really was Rebecca, and that she had gone missing shortly after giving birth, in 1998. My blood ran cold. This person was telling the truth. Then my real mother didn't give me up. She disappeared. Suddenly, I wasn't just someone raised in a lie. I was the missing piece of someone else's mystery. But it gets worse. Because later that night, my parents came home, and I confronted them. I held the photo out. The hospital bracelet. The birth certificate. Everything. And you know what my mom did? She didn't deny it. She just stared at me and whispered one word. "She wasn't supposed to find you." I felt the ground vanish beneath me. What did she mean? Who was looking for me? And more terrifying, who had they been hiding me from all these years? I'll tell you what my parents finally confessed after years of silence, and the shocking truth about Rebecca Langley, the woman who may be my real mother. Comment below what you think is going on, and hit like if you think the truth is far deeper than just a hidden adoption. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss. That night I couldn't sleep. Again. Lena let me stay in her guest room, but my mind was somewhere else. On the voice from the tape. On the final words from a mother who had vanished 21 years ago. I'm going to get her back. No matter what it takes. But she never did. Because something, or someone, stopped her. No. I was going to find out who. The next morning, Lena and I drove to St. Mercy General Hospital, the same place listed on the old birth certificate I found in the attic. The hospital looked old but still operational, with new wings attached to the crumbling original structure. As we walked in, I felt a chill run down my spine. It was like the walls remembered what happened here, even if no one else did. At the records desk, I gave the fake name from the bracelet. Baby Girl R. April 1998. The receptionist typed slowly. Frowned. I'm sorry, there's nothing under that name in our system. I expected that. Hospitals don't keep old physical records for more than 20 years, unless something went wrong. So I said, can we check archived microfiche? Something physical? My mother went missing here. Rebecca Langley. That made her pause. She looked at me again. Langley. I nodded. Without saying a word, she excused herself and went into a back room. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I was about to leave when a man in a white coat walked out. Older. Stern face. He introduced himself as Dr. Kessler, the hospital's longest-serving pediatrician. I heard you're asking about a woman named Rebecca Langley? I nodded. He sighed. I was a resident here back in '98. That name hasn't come up in years. I asked him directly, do you remember her? He looked over his shoulder, then leaned in. There was a woman, young, troubled. She gave birth here. Healthy baby girl. But she vanished before discharge. I asked him if she left on her own. He paused again. That's what we were told. Told. Not saw. Not knew. Just told. I asked, were there security cameras? He shook his head. That wing didn't have cameras back then. Just nurses' notes. And not all of them made it into the files. Something about the way he said it felt intentional. Then he said something that froze my blood. After that case, we had an internal review. Someone from outside got involved. Lawyers. State board. The birth record, it was flagged. And sealed. Like someone didn't want it found. I asked if there was any way to unseal it. He hesitated. Then said, only a court order. Or a direct match from a family member. Lena reached into her purse and handed him a paper. DNA test. One she had secretly taken using my hairbrush the night before. It was a match. 99.9%. We were blood relatives. Dr. Kessler looked like he had seen a ghost. He brought us back to a file room, older than the rest of the hospital. Dust everywhere. Locked cabinets lining the walls like tombs of forgotten stories. After what felt like hours, he found it. A thin, worn file labeled Langley Rebecca, April 3, 1998. He opened it slowly. Inside were only 3 things. 1. A birth note with my time of delivery. 2. A statement marked signed under pressure from a nurse. 3. A scribbled order to place infant under emergency protective custody, awaiting adoptive placement. But here's the thing. There was no legal documentation attached. No court order. No social worker notes. Nothing. And the strangest part? My adoptive parents' names were handwritten in the margin. In pen. Not typed. Not filed. Just scrawled in ink. I stared at it in disbelief. It was as if someone had forced this placement to happen. Off the books. When we asked who authorized it, Dr. Kessler looked sick. I think I know who, he said. But he's not here anymore. He handed us a name, Dr. Mitchell Rowe. A former attending physician. Retired years ago. Lena and I left the hospital in stunned silence. Once we got to the car, I broke down, sobbing. Because now I knew. I hadn't been given up. I hadn't been abandoned. I'd been taken. And someone had forged a fake trail to cover it up. Comment below. What would you do if you found out your whole childhood was built on a forged adoption? One that might have been illegal? Because I didn't know what to feel anymore. Hate, grief, fear. I had all 3 fighting inside me. Later that night, Lena got a hit on her PI's contact, an old address for Dr. Mitchell Rowe, a sleepy retirement home just an hour away. We drove there the next morning. My hands were shaking as I knocked on his door. An old man answered. Frail, thin, but sharp eyes. I said, I think you were there when I was born. I need to know what really happened. He stared at me for a long time, then whispered, You're her. You're the baby. He invited us in, and what he told us changed everything again. Dr. Mitchell Rowe lived in a small, quiet retirement home on the edge of town. There were flowers in the windowsill, a bird feeder swaying on the porch. You'd never guess this man held the darkest secret of my life. When he first saw me, he paled, like he'd seen someone crawl out of a grave. He motioned us in, shut the door behind us, and didn't speak for nearly a minute. Then finally he asked, How much do you know? I told him everything. The letter, the photo, the birth certificate, the sealed file from the hospital. He sank into his chair. His hands trembled. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. You weren't supposed to find out. That file was supposed to be destroyed. Someone must have missed it. I asked him point blank. Was I adopted legally? He looked away. No, there was no adoption. There was only a deal. That word shook me to the core. He explained. Back in 1998, Rebecca Langley was brought in, scared, exhausted, and completely alone. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl. But after delivery, something strange happened. A man, Dr. Rowe never said his name, visited the hospital. He wasn't staff. He wasn't family. But he had connections. And money. He said the girl was in danger. That the mother was unstable. That she'd disappear anyway. He offered compensation to expedite a private placement. No paperwork. Dr. Rowe paused, shame burning in his eyes. I was young. I didn't question it. I thought we were doing the right thing. They told the staff that Rebecca had abandoned the baby. They had someone, my so-called parents, ready to take me home the next day. No social workers. No legal process. Just a signature. And a check. I asked him the question I'd been dreading. Who were the people that took me? He pulled out a drawer and handed me an old file folder. Inside was a list of names and contact numbers, mostly scribbled in pen. At the very top, Daniel and Marlene Carter. My parents. I stared at it numb. All this time they played the loving mom and dad, while hiding the fact they paid to take me. Like I was a secret they bought off the record. I asked him if they knew Rebecca was still trying to get me back. His answer? They knew. She came to the hospital the day after. Back to see you. But we told her the baby was gone. That she'd left without claiming her. She was confused. Hysterical. Security was called. Then she vanished. Lena broke down in tears. We had confirmation now. Not just suspicion. My mother didn't leave me. She was cut off from me. On purpose. By people who decided my future without ever asking her. Or me. Before we left, Dr. Rowe grabbed my arm gently. You have every right to hate me. But I swear, I didn't know what I was part of until it was too late. I didn't know what to say. Hate felt too small a word. Outside in the parking lot, Lena turned to me, her voice shaking. They didn't just lie to you, Mandy. They stole you. And now, we need to make sure they answer for it. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My throat was dry. My heart was pounding in my ears. Everything I knew was shattered. The home I grew up in, built on lies. The parents I loved, kidnappers in disguise. Tell me in the comments, what would you do if you discovered your entire family was built on a secret deal? Would you confront them, or take them down? Because I knew what I had to do. I was going home. Not to return to the life I left behind, but to confront the people who raised me under a stolen name. When I arrived back in my hometown, it felt different. Colder. Smaller. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I went to the courthouse and asked for legal counsel. I needed to know if this deal could be exposed. If what happened to Rebecca, and to me, could lead to criminal charges. The lawyer looked over the evidence. The fake adoption, the forged hospital notes, the absence of legal documentation, and the letter from Rebecca. Then he asked the big question. Do you want justice or do you want answers? I wanted both. He told me the road ahead wouldn't be easy. My parents had built a paper-thin story, but over 20 years had passed. Without witnesses or confessions, it might be hard to prove criminal intent. But I had Dr. Rowe's statement, and Rebecca's tape, and the bracelet. Above all, I had the truth. I thanked him and left. Then I drove home. My hands shook as I pulled into the driveway. The house looked the same, but everything inside it felt poisoned now. I opened the front door. My parents were sitting in the living room, like they'd been waiting for me. My mom stood up slowly. Mandy. But I held up the folder. The old file. Dr. Rowe's statement. No more lies, I said. I know everything. My dad's jaw clenched. He didn't deny it. He didn't even flinch. He just said one thing that chilled me to my core. Then you know we did what we had to do. And that's when I realized. They weren't ashamed. They were protecting a secret far darker than I imagined. I stood there in the living room, folder in my hand, heart in my throat. I had come for answers. But what I got was something darker than I ever imagined. My parents didn't deny it. Not the fake adoption. Not the secret deal. Not even the money. My mom sat down slowly, her eyes brimming with something I couldn't read. Regret? Or fear? Mandy, we didn't steal you. We rescued you. I almost laughed. Rescued me? From what? A mother who wanted me. Who fought for me. She wiped her face, took a deep breath. And then, she dropped a name. From Caleb Langley. Your biological grandfather. I froze. I'd never heard of him. She continued. Rebecca Langley, my birth mother, was 19 when she had me. She was living with her father, a man my parents described as a dangerous religious extremist, who believed women were cursed and babies were born into sin. My mom's voice trembled as she recalled it. He thought Rebecca getting pregnant outside marriage was a punishment from God. He planned to do something awful. She ran away from him to have you. She came to our church. That's how we found her. I looked at my dad. He added coldly. She begged us to hide her. Keep you safe. We thought she was unstable, panicked. But then we saw bruises. Heard her scream his name in her sleep. The room felt like it was spinning. They told me Rebecca had nowhere to go. The hospital was just a place to deliver. She had no plan after that, only fear that her father would find her. According to my dad, Rebecca left me with them willingly. She signed nothing. But she whispered 2 words before walking out the door. Keep her safe. But then, my mom dropped the real twist. The problem wasn't Rebecca. It was what happened after. She said a week after I was born, someone broke into their home. Ransacked the nursery. Left a threatening note. She belongs to God. Return her before judgment falls. They never told the police. They didn't want Child Protective Services getting involved, because legally they had no rights to me. And any exposure might mean they'd lose me. So they panicked. They paid Dr. Rowe. They erased the trail. And for the next 21 years, they lived in fear that Caleb Langley might find out where I was. My mom said, we weren't hiding the truth to hurt you. We were hiding you to protect you. But something didn't sit right. If Rebecca really gave me up, why did she come back to the hospital? Why did she leave that desperate voicemail? Why did she say, I'm going to get her back no matter what it takes? I looked them both in the eyes. You lied. You may have believed it was to protect me, but you still lied. Then I asked the one question I'd been holding in my chest since I walked in. Where is she now? My mom looked down. Silent. My dad finally answered. She vanished. We heard from someone that she tried to go back to her father's house. After that, no one saw her again. Vanished. Just like that. No trace. No search. Just gone. Felt like the air left the room. I asked why they never looked for her. Never tried to find her once I was grown. My mom whispered. Because we were afraid of what we might find. That hit me like a slap. As I had been afraid too. But fear didn't excuse what they'd done. I told them I needed time and walked out. Lena was waiting outside in the car. She asked me what happened. I told her everything. And then I said something I never thought I'd say. I want to find Caleb Langley. Tell me in the comments. If you had the chance to face the person who might have destroyed your real mother's life, would you take it? Because I knew this wasn't over. My parents didn't just rewrite my story. They left it unfinished. And the final chapter might begin with a man who believed he was God. Lena made a few calls that night. One of her contacts found something. A small rural town 3 states away. A man named Caleb Langley still living on the same property listed on Rebecca's old file. Isolated. Off the grid. No internet presence. No phone listed. Just a crumbling farmhouse tucked between 2 hills. The next morning we packed our bags and left. I didn't know what I'd say when I saw him. I didn't know if I'd be safe. But I had to know the truth. We arrived late afternoon. The house was exactly how I imagined it. Gray paint peeling, a rusted cross nailed to the front door, no signs of life. I walked up slowly. Heart hammering. Knocked once. Twice. The door creaked open. And there he was. Cold eyes. White beard. A man with presence that felt wrong. He stared at me. Like he'd been waiting. "You've got your mother's eyes," he said. I opened my mouth to speak, but the words caught in my throat. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "You're finally here. You were promised to me. And now, you've come back." I stood frozen in Caleb Langley's doorway. He didn't look surprised to see me. He looked expectant. Like I was a prophecy fulfilled. His voice was deep, rough from age but strangely calm. "You were born under the curse. But I knew one day you'd return. That's why I kept this place ready." My stomach twisted. Behind me Lena whispered, "Vandy, let's go. Now." But I stepped forward. I had to know. "What happened to my mother?" I asked. He stepped aside and motioned me into the house. It smelled like dust, mildew, and something older. Like secrets soaked into the walls. Religious symbols lined every inch of the living room. Handwritten scriptures nailed into wood. Candles that had long burned out. He poured tea like this was some casual visit. Then he finally answered me. Rebecca defied the word. She ran from her judgment. But judgment always catches up. I clenched my fist. "Did you hurt her?" His eyes narrowed. "She hurt herself. That's what sin does. It eats the soul." He claimed that after giving birth, Rebecca came back to him. That she begged him to forgive her, and to help her get me back. But what he said next chilled me to the bone. "She offered herself in exchange for your safety. She said, 'Take me instead. Just let her grow up free.'" I whispered, "And you agreed?" "No," he said. "I accepted the sacrifice. That's what she wanted." He never said the words outright. But he didn't have to. The way he spoke about her, as if she were some lamb to be slaughtered. As if what he'd done was holy. She rests now. Beneath the oak tree in the backfield. Marked by scripture. Freed of sin. I wanted to scream. To run. To burn that house down. But I stayed. Because there was one more thing I had to know. "Why did you want me?" He smiled. "For the first time. Because you were born under prophecy. Your mother was the vessel. You were the offering. But she stole you. Hid you among the wicked. I've waited 24 years for you to return, to fulfill your purpose." Lena grabbed my arm. "We're leaving. Now." And this time I didn't argue. We backed out slowly, keeping him in sight. He never moved. Just stood there. Staring. As we got in the car and pulled away, he stepped out into the driveway and raised his arms. Like he was blessing us. Or cursing us. Tell me in the comments. Do you believe some people are just born evil? Or do they become that way? Because I don't know what Caleb Langley was. But I knew what he wasn't. Safe. The whole ride home Lena kept checking the mirrors. I sat in silence. Rebecca was dead. Buried behind a house filled with hate and delusion. She had tried to save me. She gave everything she had. No one came for her. Not the police. Not a search party. Not even the so-called parents who took me. I felt this burning in my chest. Anger. Grief. But most of all, resolve. I couldn't bring her back. But I could make sure the world knew what happened. I could tear the silence apart. Back home, I contacted a local reporter, one with a reputation for chasing the stories no one else would touch. I handed her everything: Dr. Rose's confession, my birth records, my parents' sealed file, and what I witnessed at Caleb's. She listened, took notes, then asked me the question that shook me. Are you ready for this to go public? It could change everything. I nodded. I wasn't scared of change anymore. I wanted it. Because the truth had been buried long enough. The article dropped 3 days later. The headline: Stolen at Birth. One woman's fight to expose a hidden adoption, and the cult behind it. It went viral within hours. Comments flooded in. Some were in shock. Others shared similar stories. A few called me a liar. But then something unexpected happened. An anonymous message landed in my inbox. All it said was, "Rebecca wasn't the only one. I was there too. And I have proof." Attached was a photo. 3 young women, standing outside a barn. One of them was unmistakably Rebecca. And the others? Still a mystery. But in the background of the photo was something even more chilling. That same oak tree. The one behind Caleb's house. And what looked like 2 more grave markers. The photo sat in my inbox for hours. 3 women. Young. Fearful eyes. Rebecca was one of them. The second woman looked vaguely familiar. I couldn't place her, but something about her expression, like she was silently screaming. And behind them, that oak tree. The same one Caleb had said my mother was buried under. But this time there were 3 crosses. 3 names, blurred by the distance, but there. I zoomed in until the pixels bled together. My stomach turned. Because suddenly, this wasn't just a family lie anymore. It was a graveyard of secrets. I forwarded the photo to the reporter I'd spoken to earlier. She replied instantly. "I've seen this barn. It's in a county that refused to let us investigate Langley years ago. Locals whispered rumors about women disappearing, but no charges ever stuck." She sent me a file marked, "Unsolved, Cold Cases." Inside were the names of 6 missing girls, all under 22. All last seen in rural areas near Langley's property between 1994 and 2003. One name jumped out at me. Elena Rowe. Dr. Rose's niece. I remembered his trembling voice on the phone weeks ago when he said, "I've done horrible things for them. Things I can't undo." Was this what he meant? Did he help cover up not just an illegal adoption, but something much, much darker? I called him again. This time he didn't dodge my questions. His voice was shaking. I didn't know at first. I thought I was just helping scared girls get off the grid. Some came pregnant, some just ran from bad homes. Then one of them never came back. That's when I realized something was wrong. But by then I was in too deep. I asked him about the barn. He was silent for a long time. Then he said, "They called it the refuge. But it was never safe. And I think they killed Elena." I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just a lie to protect me. This was a cover-up of something evil. And it had gone on for years, maybe decades. That night I couldn't sleep. I dreamed of Rebecca running through fields, clutching me to her chest. Of Caleb's voice echoing through the trees. Of grave markers sprouting from the ground like weeds. I woke up gasping. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I was furious. Lena and I drove back out to the edge of the county line. This time not to confront Caleb, but to expose him. We met the reporter and a private investigator she'd hired. Using satellite images, we mapped out the land surrounding the Langley property. There was a shed no one had entered in years. And based on thermal scans, it had been recently disturbed. We called the sheriff. They were hesitant. Said there wasn't enough for a warrant. But then we showed them the photo. The missing persons list. The handwritten note from Caleb claiming Rebecca's sacrifice. That changed everything. The search warrant was granted 2 days later. I wasn't allowed on the property. But I waited outside the gates, watching as officers entered with dogs and shovels. Hours passed. Then one officer walked out, his face pale like he'd seen a ghost. He nodded at the sheriff. And that's when I knew. They found something. The news broke fast. Human remains found behind Caleb Langley's home. Not just one body. 3. The coroners confirmed one of them was Rebecca Langley. The others were still being identified. Caleb was arrested at dawn, charged with multiple counts of homicide, unlawful imprisonment, and conspiracy. I watched them take him away in cuffs. And he still didn't look afraid. He just looked at me and said, "Your mother chose this. She chose you." Tell me in the comments, do you think he believed that? Or was it just a lie he told himself so he could sleep at night? Later that week, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single page. Handwritten. "You were never cursed. You were never promised. You were loved. Don't let his voice be louder than mine. R." It was Rebecca. Her handwriting matched the old medical forms in the hospital file. She must have written it before she died. Maybe even hidden it somewhere for someone to find. And they did. And now it was mine. I stood under the oak tree weeks later. The land had been seized by the state. The house demolished. But the tree remained. We held a small ceremony. Rebecca's name was finally spoken out loud. And this time, it wasn't in fear. It was in remembrance. I read her letter aloud, every word shaking but firm. Because my mother didn't die in shame. She died protecting me. And now the world knew her truth. I'll share how I confronted my adoptive parents one last time, and the decision I made that would either tear my entire family apart, or finally bring peace. The courthouse was quieter than I expected. Outside, reporters still camped out, hoping to catch a photo of Caleb Langley in shackles. But I wasn't there for him. I was there for me. I had an appointment to meet the two people who raised me. John and Karen Davis. The people I had once called Mom and Dad. They had agreed to see me after weeks of silence. After the article, the arrest, the national attention. I think the pressure finally broke them. I waited in a small side room. They walked in together. Karen looked older, worn down. Her makeup couldn't hide the red around her eyes. John wouldn't even look at me. I didn't stand. I didn't hug them. I just said the only words I'd rehearsed for days. Tell me the truth. The whole truth. No more games. Karen sat slowly, clutching her purse like it might protect her. We didn't mean to hurt you. My voice was cold. But you did. She nodded. Her lip trembled. We didn't know everything at first. We couldn't have children. We were desperate. A friend introduced us to Dr. Rowe. Said he helped families adopt quietly. We didn't ask too many questions. John finally looked up. But we knew something was wrong when we saw the birth certificate. Your name had been scratched out. There was a different mother's name underneath. And you still took me? I asked. He hesitated, then said something that shocked me. At first, we told ourselves we were rescuing you. That maybe your mother couldn't care for you. But when you turned one, Karen found a letter. My heart stopped. A letter. Karen reached into her purse and pulled out a weathered envelope. She slid it across the table. It was hidden inside your baby book. Tucked behind a photo. I read it and I knew. We weren't your real parents. Your mother loved you. She begged whoever found it to protect you from him, from Caleb. Tears welled in her eyes. But by then, we were in too deep. We were afraid if we told anyone they'd take you from us and we'd go to prison. I stared at the letter. My hands trembled as I opened it. It was unmistakably Rebecca's handwriting. Heartbreaking. To whoever raises her, please tell her one day. Don't let her grow up thinking she was unwanted. She was my light. I only ran to save her. I couldn't stop the tears. Even when the world turned against her, she was still thinking of me. Why didn't you ever tell me? I asked, barely able to speak. Karen sobbed. Because we were cowards. And for the first time in years, I believed her. I stood up, letter still in hand. I can't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I needed to hear it. John nodded. We understand. Before I left, Karen whispered. We did love you. In our own broken way. I didn't respond. Because love without truth isn't love. It's possession. The months that followed were a blur of headlines, interviews, and court hearings. Caleb Langley was convicted on 3 counts of murder. More women came forward with stories of being lured to the refuge. Dr. Rowe took a plea deal in exchange for testimony and vanished into witness protection. But I stayed. I stayed because someone had to make sure Rebecca's name was never forgotten again. I petitioned the state to have her declared legally exonerated of all accusations Caleb had falsely spread. I published her full story in a memoir, every page a tribute to her courage. And I returned to the oak tree every month with fresh flowers and a promise. I know who I am now, Mom. And I won't let your truth die in silence. People ask me now if I ever went back to the Davis household. If I forgave them. If I let them back into my life. The answer is complicated. I visit them once a year. Not because I owe them. But because I understand now that family is not just blood. And it's not ownership. It's the people who protect your truth, no matter how painful. And that's something they're still learning. If you've made it this far, thank you. This story wasn't easy to tell. But I believe someone out there needed to hear it. Maybe you. So now I'll ask you, what would you do if your entire identity was a lie? Would you chase the truth no matter the cost? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever had a secret change your life, share it. You never know who might need your story. Like, comment, share. Please do support us by subscribing to this channel for more intense drama. And remember, the truth doesn't disappear just because it's buried. Sometimes it grows roots.